Hello everyone, today's date is August 14th, 2025, and we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Erin and also this invest, which is Invest 98L, but the main topic will be Tropical Storm Erin for today. So as of the latest 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time update on Tropical Storm Erin, it is still a 60 mile per hour, 999 millibar low pressure storm. So it is slowly strengthening and it's going to be making its way westward towards the Lesser Antilles. So some areas could be impacted, but this storm will mainly head to the north of the Lesser Antilles and especially the greater Antilles as well. But that's not to say there won't be any impacts in those areas. So the National Hurricane Center has this becoming a hurricane by 8 a.m. tomorrow on Friday, and then by this weekend it will turn into a category 2 and then eventually a category 3 hurricane, a major hurricane, that is by Sunday morning from the National Hurricane Center. And so we also have this invest into the Southwest Atlantic, which is once again Invest 98L, and this area has a 40% chance of developing into a tropical cyclone within the next 2 and 7 days. Starting out with the latest 12Z GFS weather model. So as you can see, there is Tropical Storm Erin in the bottom right hand corner of the screen there. But so the GFS continues this on, and as we get into Friday and eventually into Saturday, it becomes a category 1 hurricane. And then really by about midday Saturday, I would say the northern Leeward Islands could expect the most impacts from this. And so we'll have to kind of get a little bit closer to the time frame to get a better idea of the exact impacts. But I do think some of these areas could see some of the outer rain bands, but not the main core of the storm. So it looks like the GFS has this agreeing with multiple other models and has it staying mostly to the north of the Leeward Islands and continues it on into the Western Atlantic by Sunday. So then it continues to strengthen. There we go into early next week, the middle of next week, and then it finally gets it into about a strong category 3 hurricane by about midweek, and then eventually continues to strengthen it just a little bit, and then finally starts to weaken as it heads on out to sea. And we'll look at the Northeast in just a moment, because I don't think areas like maybe Nova Scotia, but mainly Newfoundland, are completely out of the picture for this impacting them. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But we'll also look at the European model as well. This is the latest 06Z run from today. So it pretty much has this around the same time frame, but it has it a little bit weaker, I believe, 986, 972 there. So the European does want to show it a little bit weaker. So a weaker scenario would mean that this would potentially get closer to the eastern U.S. and really eastern seaboard altogether. So that's something to watch as well. I think the main time frame this weekend we'll have to watch, because it's kind of the period where we could see either slow intensification or pretty rapid intensification. So we'll see how that plays out, and there's a few factors at play that go into the intensification of these storms, and we'll talk about that in just a moment as well. But the European wants to keep this a little bit weaker as it gets closer to the greater Antilles, but then it strengthens it once again about the same strength as the GFS by Wednesday. Continue that on further, still gets somewhat close to the eastern seaboard there, but still makes that recurve out to sea and is out of the picture by Friday evening. So lastly here, we'll look at the European AI model as well. And so it has it quite a bit weaker as well, weaker than the European, I believe, as well. So it gets that on and gets it pretty close to the Bahamas there, and continues to strengthen it further, and is once again about around the same strength, around a category 3 storm, a major hurricane by this point, by the middle of next week, and then also recurves it out to sea there. So that's the latest on those models for today, the main kind of GFS European and European AI model. So we'll go ahead and look at some more factors that go into this storm in just a moment. Before we continue to look at Erin any further, we're going to take a look at this area in the southwest Gulf of America here. And so this area has once again a 40% chance of developing within the next 2 and 7 days, and it is Invest 98L. The GFS does not have much coming out of this besides just some rain and moisture moving into Texas and then even into kind of eastern Mexico by late Friday into very early on Saturday. So once again, this is nothing to be really afraid of. It's just going to be mostly tropical downpours in some of these areas, but the European as well. It doesn't show a whole lot besides some rain developing really around that weak low pressure into Texas and kind of into Mexico as well by Friday, and then early Saturday it should pretty much be about gone. Maybe some leftover energy from that lingering around into central and eastern Texas maybe by Saturday evening, but that's the latest on Invest 98L. So putting our focus back on Tropical Storm Erin, and so if we take a look at the sea surface temperatures here into the western Atlantic, and so the area that it's currently in now has sea surface temperatures around 28, 27 degrees Celsius, which is about the kind of low to mid 80s. But as it moves further into the western Atlantic, east of the Bahamas, these temperatures are into the upper 80s, and that is well warm enough for tropical activity. So we have a pretty large area of temperatures into the mid and upper 80s. That is Fahrenheit, by the way, into the western Atlantic. And so the water doesn't really get cooler until you get well up into the western Atlantic, and then pretty much basically just east of New Jersey are pretty cool. But mainly this entire area you can see here with temperatures into the upper 20s in Celsius will be enough for tropical development. But the best area once again will be here where you see those temperatures into the upper 80s hitting 30 degrees Celsius right there. Now taking a look at another element that goes into the strengthening of tropical systems, and that is the relative humidity really around the 700 to 300 millibar level in the atmosphere here. So as you can probably guess, the kind of greenish blue colors is the area of moist air, and the area that is the kind of brown color is dry air. So if we back this up a little bit, you can see by tomorrow Erin is going to have some dry air into her eastern side of the storm, so that could get into the circulation a little bit, and that could weaken it. Not really weaken it, but it could prevent rapid intensification compared to if you had just a large area of moist air. But as it gets further westward and strengthens, it is able to fully wrap itself around in moist air and those levels in the atmosphere, so it has no trouble at all strengthening. So what I do believe is the more dry air that can get into it this evening and even into tomorrow, the weaker it's going to be and the further west it's going to go. So we want this storm to strengthen now and as quickly as possible so it can make that northern turn, because tropical cyclones will always want to push north as soon as possible when they get to a certain strength. So if this was a tropical storm by this point, let's just say hypothetically this was a tropical storm sitting right here into the western Atlantic, it would not want to fight as north as much, and it would definitely try to drift further westward. But the good thing is it's going to be quite strong by this point, so that's why we're hoping it'll do the recurve out to sea. So that's just the kind of latest on that and how the relative humidity can definitely impact a tropical system. So apart from that, the last thing we're going to look at is kind of the northeast and really eastern seaboard. So what do the models show for Nova Scotia and Newfoundland? I know we can't see Newfoundland right now, but we can take a look at Nova Scotia, and then we'll look at Newfoundland, but it will be a zoomed out view because we don't really have a good kind of view of Newfoundland, unfortunately. But nonetheless, we'll go ahead and look at the latest run once again, the 12Z run from the GFS. And so take some of this with a grain of salt because it is still over a week out by this point, and I think we'll have a much better idea of how close this will get to areas like Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So this could quite definitely change between now and then. But the latest run from the GFS has it completely missing Nova Scotia, and we'll look at the European as well. The latest, which is the OOZ run from last night, and so it has it pretty much completely missing Nova Scotia, and we'll once again look at Newfoundland in just a moment. So we'll lastly look at the European AI model as well, and it has it getting a little bit closer to Nova Scotia, but misses it for the most part, and then that will head on out. So that's just the latest on that. So now we'll look at a better view here. So we'll look at the North Atlantic, and so the latest European AI model has it impacting the southeastern part of Newfoundland here as a 958 millibar low pressure. But by this point, as it gets further northward, it is going to turn into more of a upper level kind of cyclone more than it is a tropical cyclone. So it's going to have more of those characteristics of, once again, a upper level cyclone. So it has that once again impacting the southeastern portions of Newfoundland there. And once again, this is over 200 hours out, or right at 200 hours. So this is still far out, and plenty of things can change between now and then. So look at the European model as well for this, and it actually pretty much has it missing Newfoundland, southeastern Newfoundland for the most part, as around the same strength as the AI model showed. And finally, we'll look at the GFS weather model, and it also has it impacting the southeastern portions of Newfoundland as a pretty strong low pressure. So we'll continue to watch that and see how that plays out. But once again, I don't think we'll have a great idea of how this can impact these areas until sometime next week, because it'll be a lot closer and we can see the change in the model runs from now until then. But other than that, that's going to be pretty much it for our model discussion for today. Lastly, just taking a quick look at the GFS and European weather model here for our winds. And so the northern Leeward Islands could maybe expect 15 to 20 mile per hour winds, really once again by about Saturday evening into early on Sunday. But once again, there will be some rain, some outer rain bands in this as well, but there is nothing to really be concerned about at this point. But we still need to watch this as it gets closer to these islands. And we'll also look at the European just a moment as well. And so once again, it has winds into the lower 20 mile per hour range for the northernmost islands, the northernmost Leeward Islands, that is. So nothing to be completely concerned about right now, but still we're going to continue to watch this and see how this system continues to develop over the next few days. But other than that, that'll be it for today's update. I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's week.